injury to these 3 men. That was miraculous as well. There are many other miracles that happened to Louis, but probably the greatest one of all was in 1949. He wandered into the Billy Graham tent meeting downtown, and where he came face to face with his Creator, and who offered him forgiveness for his rebellious ways. And he knew right then and there that he'd forgiven his prison guards, he'd forgiven the bird, I'm sure some of you know who that is, and that he had realized he was done getting drunk. Every night for 2.5 years, Louis had nightmares of strangling this most hideous guard, the bird. Every night he woke up in a cold sweat trying to strangle this guy. He even woke up one night thinking he'd got him by the neck, and he had my mother by the neck. That was very scary. But when he went home from that Billy Graham tent meeting that night, he did not have a nightmare, and he never had another nightmare for the rest of his life. Once again, thanks for coming down.
Luke, thank you very much for those words. Before I go on, let's give a round of applause not only to the pilots that spent their own money and time and to fly, or the last formation was a missing man formation. So let's give them a round of applause. And the man sneaking into the stands with that white hat on right there is Chuck Law. He's the one that was directing those flights over. So thanks, Chuck. And now I'd like to invite Louis's grandson, Clay Zamperini. Clay?
Thank you. This is tremendous, seeing everyone out here honoring the patriarch of our family. Those flights are unbelievable. My grandfather has been a lot of things to a lot of people. He was an example of elite athleticism and a reminder that with hard work and direction, we're all capable of anything. He's a testament to the strength and resilience of the human spirit, when despite his hopeless situation, he and Russell Phillips survived a 47-day-long journey lost at sea. Perhaps most importantly, he has been a witness to our own ability to free ourselves from our demons when he forgave his prison guards for torturing him for 2.5 years. But to me, he's always just been my grandpa, the loving, kind, and generous man who went above and beyond to give me a chance at a better life than he had, and the wisdom to be a better man than he was. That's a tough act to follow. He taught me what it is to be strong, what it is to be compassionate. He taught me that by holding on to anger and bitterness, I would only hurt myself. He often told me that the most important thing I could remember was to have a cheerful countenance at all times. No matter how grim your situation is, whether you're lost at sea or just having a bad day, keeping a positive, cheerful attitude is the key to your own survival. I can only count it as a blessing that these lessons from the greatest generation, or what he called the Hardy generation, holds resonance with my own people, my own generation. Not just with myself, but with countless other young people who have looked up to him as a beacon of wisdom and a life well lived. I'm stunned and marveled to hear how many of my own friends, Kyle, have just been supremely touched by Louis and hold him in such a special place in their hearts. That he's had a lifelong love and concern for the youth, so it's really no wonder. I owe a lot of my own identity to my grandfather. He was an adventurer and an outdoorsman, and he planted the seed for my own love of the wilderness, rock climbing, mountaineering, and just taking time to stop and marvel in the glory of creation. In my own copy of Unbroken, Louis left me his signature and a quote from a man he admired, John Muir. "Climb the mountains and get their good tidings. Nature's peace will flow into you as sunshine flows into trees. The winds will blow their own freshness into you, and the storms their energy, while cares will drop away from you like the leaves of autumn." Angelina couldn't be here tonight because she's in the editing room putting the final touches on my grandfather's story, but she asked that I read this on her behalf. Good evening to everyone in Torrance. Louis was my friend, my mentor, and my hero. His death is a reminder of the passing of a great generation, and it must make us all not only reflect on all they gave for our freedoms and what they committed to and represented, but for us to ask what they fought for and what their friends died for. They were in service to a country they believed in, and for morals they believed in. They were men of honor committed to their country, community, family, and fellow man. But above all, they fought for a better future, for our future, for this day. I have had the great privilege of knowing such a man. It is especially poignant to be speaking to all of you from Torrance at this time. Louis and Pete's track uniforms were the first costumes we recreated for the film. We really wanted to make sure we got the T just right. Thank you, Gail. We got it. We knew his origins, his family, and his home would be the center of the film because it's the place where he grew up, the place where he struggled as a rebellious youth, and the place where he would discover his fast feet and strong heart that would carry him through the rest of his life. What a beautiful legacy he leaves of forgiveness, faith, and the triumph of the human spirit. How fortunate for the world he existed. How grateful we all are who have been changed and inspired by him. How much we will all miss him. My life and my family's lives have been forever changed by your own Torrance tornado. With much love and respect, Angelina.
My heels told Lewis's story in his own words. At that time, Universal bought the rights with the talk of Tony Curtis playing Lewis. Then we fast forward to today. More than a half a century later, we have the producer, Matthew Baer, who has been working on the film of Louis' life for the past 16 years. As a result, it's been his honor and privilege knowing Louis and his family extremely well. Come this Christmas, the dream of telling Louis' story will become a reality with the release of the movie Unbroken. I'd like to invite the Unbroken producer, Matthew Baer, to share some remarks. Matthew?
In the book Outliers, a theory is suggested that the key to success in any line of work is practicing a specific task for 10,000 hours. These past 16 years, it feels closer to 1 million hours I've spent practicing and learning about Louis Zamperini. Thankfully, our specific task to get a movie made on Lou's remarkable life has been achieved. The marathon began in 1998 upon my seeing footage of the 81-year-old Torrance tornado running the Olympic torch in Japan, where he was once held captive. Lou's radiant smile had me at hello, as did his story. From our first meeting onward, Lou, his son-in-law Mick, and I bonded in trust, and off we went to sell Lou's amazing journey to Universal Studios. I became and remain the one and only Jewish Zamperini. Lou and my 47-year age difference was made irrelevant by a shared sense of humor, and I was the only person who loved talking about Louis' story more than Louis did himself. Like a long married couple or stand-up comedy team, when meeting with writers or executives or filmmakers, I knew exactly what story Lou was going to tell, how he would deliver his punchline, or how to best answer questions on his behalf. Lou certainly understood the creative challenges his life story held, trying to fit it all into one movie. As I became the determined salesman with my suitcase of Lou's story inside, Lou was always my biggest cheerleader, with patience born from tolerating much more pain than anyone could imagine. "Keep at it, my boy," was his refrain, in the same spirit Lou's brother Pete told him when Lou needed one more push. When anyone asked Lou for insight into how he pulled off his wildly long life, he'd always say a positive attitude, which then segued into how blood corpuscles favorably increased in the body based on one's upbeat state of mind. In 2002, a letter arrived that profoundly changed both of our lives and significantly encouraged our attitude to remain positive about the dream of having his film made. "Dear Master Zamperini, my name is Laura Hillenbrand, and I am the author of a new book, Seabiscuit, an American Legend. In my career as a historian and author, I have never come across a story touched by such hardship, perseverance, and grace. If you would be interested in my writing your biography, I would be overjoyed." Lou asked my opinion. I naturally said, "Why not?" Having been satisfied with his 1956 autobiography, Lou told me his response to Laura was going to be, "Well, look, lady, I already wrote my book. But if you want to do yours, go ahead." Obviously, Laura did go ahead. On March 21st of last year, Unbroken, the movie, had finally been greenlit. And so I made a call I longed to make after 15 years. Louis picked up, knowing it was okay to answer my number, seeing it on his gigantic phone display. With his patented energy, he said, "Hello, Matt." I was able to say, "Lou, I have amazing news. Unbroken is going to be made. Congratulations." "Well, isn't that great news?" Lou replied. "Congratulations to you too, pal." That was the most meaningful call I've ever had the good fortune to make. Several years ago, I came to Lou's house for a check-in visit. The pilgrimage was always the same. I looked through the front window. If I saw him at his round table in the study waiting for me, I came in. If Lou were in the kitchen or bedroom, I'd knock. But on this particular day, as I reached his round table, I saw a striking image. Lou Zamperini, the man who punched sharks, was in his underwear. It was the first and only time I'd seen Lou out of his daily uniform of tan pants, blue Olympic jacket, sneakers, and USC hat. The view was indeed eye-catching. Imagining a similar feeling to what 96-year-old versions of superheroes, Bruce Wayne or Peter Parker, looked outside of their Batman and Superman uniforms, what I saw was a razor-thin man whose skin clung to his frame with the texture of old silk pulled tightly. And so we chatted for our usual hour or so. Though this visit defined the friendship we'd achieved, Lou was comfortable hanging out with me in his t-shirt and briefs, at ease with himself as Lou always was. In Unbroken, Laura wrote, "Resting in the shade and stillness, Louis felt profound peace. When he thought of his history, what resonated with him now was not all that he had suffered, but the divine love that he believed had intervened to save him. Lou indeed loved fully his family, his friends, Torrance, the #1 combo at El Cholo, his USC Trojans, his never-ending flirting, his mother's gnocchi, Stouffer's frozen dinners, his view overlooking the city, and how his ultimate underdog story and courage helped others overcome their own obstacles. What Lou saw as his salvation through the words of Billy Graham, I saw in Lou as the prophet of inspiration. I will think of him every day as I have since the day we met. While my heart is indeed broken, we won't get to see Louis on the red carpet. His spirit and love of life will remain unbroken for eternity. And when my 2 sons need that extra hand of loving kindness and support, I will say what my dear friend Lou said to me. Keep at it. Keep at it.
Louis was born the same year Torrance High School opened its doors, 1917. In his youth, he was a juvenile delinquent, stealing pies, cigarettes, and liquor, ringing church bells. In the middle of the night, he would awaken his neighbors. He'd get in fights. He shoot spitwads at girls in his class. You name it, he did it. What began as a career of running from the cops got Louis selected to be one of the 334 American athletes to go to the 1936 Berlin Olympic Games. With his older brother, Pete, with his paddle in hand, encouragement, Louis eventually learned to channel his bad boy energies into the running that he did. While at Torrance High School, he blew away the competition. He set the new scholastic mile record of 4 minutes and 21.2 seconds. This stood for 19 years. Lewis put Torrance on the map. As noted in the 1935, January 31st, 1935, Torrance Herald newspaper, this is their quotes. This is what they wrote. Whether Torrance realizes it or not, this recognition of Louis Zamperini as the leading Torrance High School miler in the United States means a lot to the community. It means the city of Torrance will be mentioned in the worldwide dispatches every time that Louis goes out for a major track and meet. Every other follower of sports in this and every other country in the world reads about the black-haired, smiling youth from Torrance. A little city, this is 1935, a little city that practically unknown outside the radius of 100 miles or so, or until Zamperini put us on the world map of sports. At this time, I'd like to invite to the microphone Gail Morgan, the president of the Torrance High School School Alumni Association, to share a few words.
Thank you, Mayor Scotto, and thank you all of you to be here. Okay, Cynthia, you're not going to be the only ones going to have a hard time getting through this. I had nearly 30 years of friendship with this wonderful, wonderful man. In the fall of 2006, I got my wonderful Louis, he called me, and he asked me if I knew what was going to happen to him in January of 2007. Well, of course I knew what was going to happen to him. He was going to turn 90. He surprised me by saying that he wanted to have his 90th birthday party at Torrance High, and would the Torrance High Alumni Association please host it? Of course, we were going to do it. I asked John O'Brien. He said, what do you think I'm going to say? So we went about it. The logistics of getting Louis to Torrance High was a dilemma, but I have to thank a fellow Tartar and a mayor for volunteering to get a limo and go up and get Louis. I understand I made Frank's dream come true that day. He got to spend time with Louie. You're welcome, Frank. And thank you, Cindy, my fellow Tartar. So, after I got the limo from Frank and Cindy, I thought, I have this little idea. So I called Chief John New. He had told me at one time, anytime I needed something, to call him. So I did. I said, John, we all know the history of Louie with Torrance Police Department. I'd like to do something. We all do, don't we? There wasn't a time that Louie ever didn't love to tell us about the story of him in Torrance Police Department and a few other police departments. So I asked John if he could make this wish come true, and he said, consider it done. My wish was that when the limo came into Torrance, that the Torrance Police Department would escort Louie to Torrance High. I thought it was about time to say, welcome to Torrance, Louie. So the limo comes to Torrance, he gets his escort. The limo pulls up at Torrance High. Pete comes out, Sylvia comes out, everybody comes out, and the last one out is Louie. He bounds out and he's smiling and he's happy. And he grabs me by the arm, and with such enthusiasm, with that twinkle in his eye, and with the love in his heart, he said, did you see that? Did you see that? Did you see what happened? And I said, okay, what's he talking about? Because there was so much going on that day. He says, the Torrance police escorted me into town. They escorted me into town. They welcomed me into town. And I said, yes, Louie, I know they did. So he went about greeting everybody, having a grand time. Pete came up and told me, you don't know how much that means to us. Later in the day, cutting the cake, taking the pictures, telling the stories, everything that we did, Louie came up to me and told me the best birthday gift he got that day was the escort to the police department. I couldn't believe that this simple little silly idea that I had meant so much to him. Pete called me that night and said, you don't understand the history that he had with the PD. That he finally was welcomed to Torrance and to Torrance High. I know it took a while, but I think we did the right thing. On Louie's last visit to Torrance High, Jim Staniford and his son Carl got Louie and brought him. When I greeted Louie, it was kind of funny. He grabbed me and he goes, what, no police escort? I looked at him and I said, oh gosh, I'm so sorry, Louie, I forgot. He goes, that's okay. I have to say that one of the things that I learned from dear Louis, it's not the grandiose gestures. It's not the fireworks or anything like that. It's the simple things. The simple gift of having a police escort meant so much to him, and he talked to me about it, and Pete talked to me about it. I truly learned that it's the little things in life, the little things that people do for you that mean so much. They can make grand gestures, but when they remember something that meant something so much to you, that's what counts. To the Zamperini family, thank you so much for sharing your Louie with us. We love him so much. I know that he is here, and each and every one of you, you say that Louie's your hero, that you believe in his spirit, that you understand who he is. Go out and represent Louie the best way you can. Be loving, be kind, be forgiving, and I thank you all so very much for being here.
Thank you, Gail. And as you can tell, we're telling you a little story of Louie's life by the people that are the new and the best. You know, I was very fortunate in 2000 to meet Louie the first time, and she brought up the, I was going to tell you later, but she brought up the fact that in 2007 I was so fortunate to go to his home, and I got to spend the afternoon with him, and let me tell you, that was an experience of a lifetime. I got to do a lot of great things being the mayor of the city of Torrance, but I got to tell you, that ranks right up there at the top. To see a man that was so humble in his home, with trophies and awards all around him, that just amazing. So, Theo, thank you. After the war, Louis was tormented by nightmares. The Bird, as he was called, the sadistic prison guard who singled him out for punishment day in and day out. To ease the memories that haunted him, he began to drink heavily. At his wife's urging, he wanted to save his marriage, so he went to see evangelist Billy Graham. Reluctantly and bitterly, he listens. He took heart to what was said, and every night committed himself to God, forever leaving behind his nightmares, alcoholism, and resentment. Louis made a promise to share his journey from delinquency to Olympian, from POW to drinking, from nightmares to conversation. His mission was to inspire and help people by leading a life of good example, quiet strength, and potential influence. Louis had a way of changing lives. Through his inspiration and capacity for forgiveness, that was what was divine in nature. In 1952, Louis started the Victory Boys Camp, which helped juveniles delinquents find their path in life. The last boy that he saved is Kyle Guthrie. Kyle's here to share a few of his story with you now. Kyle, come up, please.
When I met Louis 6 months ago, he signed a copy of the Unbroken book and gave it to me. Inside the cover of the book, he wrote, "Be Hardy," in his signature. At this time that he did this, I was at his beautiful house in the Hollywood Hills, which was jam-packed with stuff from the war and the Olympics, and just a collection of planes and awesome things that stapled an eventful life. Plus, this guy was telling me stories